Very good evening. Welcome to the State of Business on our television. I'm Sachin Ratnayaka. Let's look at the headlines first. Schools open despite the strike actions. India inaugurates another international airport, landing a flight from Sri Lanka as the first. News in detail. Education Ministry today announces that no educational activities were arranged for today and tomorrow in schools, and instead they will be familiarized with special programs like counseling. Meanwhile, Education Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, who visited several schools in Maharagama area this morning, said that the schools opened will function properly as assisted by all the parties.
ගුරුවරුන්ගේ සහභාගීත්වය දැන් පාසල් ගිහිපයකට මං ගියා. ඊටාම උනන්දුවෙන් තමන්ගේ දරුවන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපනය ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන්න දෙමව්පියන් ඉස්සරහට අඩිය තියලා මේ ගෙන යන වැරදි ප්‍රචාර පැත්තකට තල්ලු කළා රට පුරා උපාධිධාරීන් ගුරුවරුන් හා විදුහල්පතිවරු වාර්තා කළා තියෙනවා. ක්‍රමානුකූලව බොහොම සුළු ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්න පාසල් රාශියක් තියෙනවා. දේශීයමන මේ තාම සුළු ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්න පාසල් ඒවයි කළ ඉදිරියට ගෙනියනවා.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the international airport in Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh yesterday on the auspicious Vappoya Day. A flight from Colombo, Sri Lanka was the first to land at Kushinagar International Airport. The Kushinagar airport is aimed at boosting tourism on the Buddhist circuit, as the ancient city of Kushinagar is the final resting place of Gautama Buddha, where he attained Mahaparinirvana after his death. Kushinagar is the city where Buddhists believe Lord Buddha passed away, known as Mahaparinirvana. The Indian High Commission in Colombo said in a statement that Kushinagar is considered to be a focal point of the Buddhist circuit in India, and the new international airport is likely to strengthen people-to-people interactions between India and Sri Lanka substantially. The statement further added that the inaugural flight not only undergoes the deep people-to-people linkages, but also millennia-old civilization ties between the two neighboring countries. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after inaugurating the Kushinagar airport, the third international airport in Uttar Pradesh, said that Kushinagar International Airport is the result of decades of aspiration and effort. Indian Premier also noted that the Kushinagar International Airport won't just be a mode of air connectivity, rather it will create an ecosystem of business and generate employment opportunities for the local youth. The inauguration of the Kushinagar International Airport was marked by the landing of the inaugural flight at the airport from Colombo. Minister of Plantations Dr. Ramesh Patirana urged tea planters as well as the other farmers to engage in cultivation without being discouraged, as arrangements are being made to import and distribute the required fertilizers. He made this appeal last Tuesday, admitting that tea harvest has been reduced due to the lack of fertilizers.
And also considering the fact that there had been a quality drop of tea that were produced in the factories, government has taken the decision to import sulfate of ammonia as the base of nitrogen for a given period of time until the production of organic fertilizer comes to a decent level in the country. So we have taken that decision. Yes, we will import certain quantities during next couple of weeks, and we will utilize the same mechanism that we used to distribute fertilizer during last 3 months. That was, we will distribute via the tea factories depending on the supply of green leaves. So we have an assessment. Tea board will overlook that operation. Once the fertilizer is imported, we will distribute them to the factories, and from there, depending on the leaf supplies, the farmers would be getting their quota. That's the mechanism we try to implement. Yes, we will import certain quantities, so we will very clearly state the fact that we will ensure that we protect the quality and the quantity of production of tea in the country. In fact, we are recording some higher levels of tea production in the country, partly thanks to the prevailing good climatic conditions with the decent rainfalls. So we expect that good climatic conditions to continue, and also we will supply fertilizer, so there will be a very good year ahead in relation to tea production of the country.
Stay tuned for more news. We'll be right back after a small commercial break.
SLT Mobitel Home Broadband within online learning සහ online working සඳහා ඇදහිය නොහැකි data දීමනා GB30ක් රුපියල් 195යි GB100ක් රුපියල් 490යි කාර්යාලයක් පාසලක් ගෙදරටම ගෙනෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රමුඛතම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සබඳතාවය SLT Mobitel එකම එක සබඳියාව.
Preparing children with 21st century skill. Public speaking and communication skills for children. Accelerated reading program for kids. Total development program for kids. Personalized coaching for children. 21st century preschool program. Global virtual preschool. Speaking, reading and science club for children. Sri Lanka's first ever student-centered learning center. Modern learning studio. Join us today.
Welcome back to the State of Business. World Bank suggests that Sri Lanka must increase agricultural productivity, supporting the farmers' transition towards higher value export-oriented crop mixers. In a latest report on Sri Lanka poverty assessment, World Bank also suggests that the second priority should be addressing the constraints to accessing remunerative non-farm jobs in rural areas. Latest projections indicate that economic growth in the country will recover to 3.3% and poverty will fall to 10.9% in 2021. However, as Sri Lanka emerges from the crisis, economic growth will be critical to restore livelihoods. World Bank said that Sri Lanka has a great track record in raising living standards and reducing poverty. In the decade preceding the COVID-19 crisis, poverty was declining. A new World Bank report, Sri Lanka Poverty Assessment, Accelerating Economic Transformation, unpacks the drivers of success behind Sri Lanka's recent efforts to improve the livelihoods of its people. The report highlights 4 priorities for Sri Lanka to further transform its economy, create more jobs and achieve a sustainable trajectory toward poverty reduction and shared prosperity. According to the report, the first priority is to increase agricultural productivity and earnings. The report says that the structural transformation is happening, but rather slowly. Therefore, it suggests that supporting farmers' transition towards high-value export-oriented crop mixers will be important given that farmers are significantly more likely to be poor. The third priority is to support broader reforms to increase labor productivity and create jobs which could ultimately help improve the quality of jobs. As the final priority, World Bank suggests to promote spatial transformation and strengthen inclusion, including the priorities to close spatial disparities and improve access to basic services. Minister of Plantations Dr. Ramesh Patirana said that the government has always prioritized the interest of all 3 communities equally. Minister Patirana, replying to a question raised by a journalist, recently said that the unfortunate incident which took place at the first quarter of the 2019 should not be labeled as an incident targeted on a one identified community in the country.
As a government, we will ensure that the citizens of the country, irrespective of their, the caste, creed and nationality, are respected as Sri Lankan civilians. So we, as the government, will ensure that all the communities, including Muslims, Tamils and Sinhalese of this country, have a decent lifestyle. That's the wish of the people of the country, and that's the wish of the government of this country. And that was, we were mandated to look after the people of this country. But we know since 2019, with that unfortunate incident that took place in first quarter of the 2019, there had been certain issues pertaining to the, in relation to the questioning and also in relation to certain incidents that took place in the country. But they were not particularly aiming at a community, but some sectors were questioned in relation to incident that took place in 2019. So apart from that, we are a responsible government. We want to reiterate the fact that we will look after the interest of the Tamils and Sinhalese.
Professor Rohan Samarajiva, chairperson, Lirnesia and an advisor of the Advocata, stresses that when you expect investments, you must address the perceptions of the investors. Speaking at a virtual forum organized by the Advocata Institute on the topic of economic recovery, he also added that the development should always be coupled with the compensation schemes for the affected groups in the society.
You had to address the perceptions of the investors. So in the same way, I was very disturbed that the opportunity that was first laid out, that for the Port City Commission, foreigners would be recruited through international advertising, was then pulled back because of this garbage, false nationalistic rhetoric. So I think that we'll have to identify a segment of the economy and we'll have to push through the reforms. But this will have to be coupled, I want to emphasize, it will have to be coupled with a very strong targeted compensation scheme for the people who are affected. So for example, if we are going to have world market fuel prices, you're going to have knock-on effects right through electricity tariffs, through water tariffs, all that. It's going to have an impact. So we have to safeguard the people who are most hurt by those things. And particularly with regard to water, I think the mechanisms are there to help them. We need to have targeted programs to safeguard them.
With that, we wind up today's news. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care. Good night.